Okay, so I've been requested to show how I make one of these ring cutting fixtures for making a bowl and a board. And I'll be making this today. And what it does, it eliminates the need to make your piece in half and bandsawing the rings out. And then gluing each ring together and then stacking it up. There's always an issue that you have to make sure that stays flat. What I do here eliminates that. And you can do any kind of glue up you want. I did this one a number of years ago. It's two different types of wood. So your glue up can be anything you want, and it does not have to be glued together like I showed you on the other one, because it eliminates that. This is kind of fun, and put little dovetails in it. This is what we end up with. That was one solid piece of wood, an inch thick. I've made 3 rings out of it. I'll be able to stack that up and glue it together and make a nice little bowl. About 3 inches thick. So let's go ahead and get going, and I'll show you exactly how I made this, and I'll make a cut and show you how it works. And the piece that I make a cut on is, the video's already done, and maybe you've seen it and maybe you haven't, but I'll put a link in the description, and it is really a very cool looking piece. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. So let's get going and make one of these. I'm getting ready to make another bowl and a board, and sometimes that's called a bandsaw bowl, but your pieces are not glued together. You cut the rings, then you glue each separate ring together. Well, this way you don't have to do that. And I came up with this little fixture for cutting the rings once the disc is already glued together and mounted on the lathe. I know a lot of people have asked me to show how I do it. I could describe what I've done here, but I'm going to build another one. This is on 45 degrees. The one I build is going to be on 50. 45 is probably your most common. So let's get some wood out, and I'll show you exactly how I build one of these little jigs. So this is the first piece that I'm going to make, and I need to make that so I can locate these guides on top of it. And these are stops. That puts it right where I want it. I don't like it perfectly flat to the bed of the lathe. I want it dropping just a little bit. I like my tool to ride on the tool rest. That's a lot more support than a piece of wood that's clamped on here. So I make sure that I have my tool against this. So now I need to figure out what that angle is. I've got lots of angle measuring devices, but what actually works quite well is, let's see, here's my block. So that block is, this is just a sample, because I'm going to show you how I lay it out. So I know that about like that and maybe down. So I look at this gap here, and I searched around and I found a scrap of wood that's pretty close to that. So I'm just going to take this clamp and temporarily put that right there. I'm going to put the block back up here, and I just need something to put it right back in about the spot that I need. I'll mark that. There's the angle that I want. All I need to do is either take it over to the bandsaw and cut this, or I could set my table saw up and cut it. I actually just took it over and bandsawed the piece. And prior to doing that, I just went ahead and marked that on there so I have a line, tilted the table, and then I cut it. So I actually have already done it with this piece, so I'm not going to show you how I cut that, because everybody has their own way of cutting it, and this worked just fine bandsawing it. Okay, with this on the tool rest, I like to leave about 1.25 inches from the end. That way I can put a little tab on here that will stop it in place. The one I'm doing is 50 degrees. I also did a 45. You can probably use any angle you want. Whatever you have to measure this with works. I have that set at 50 degrees. That's the line I need to set it to. I also have some of these that's set at 50 degrees. That works as well. You could also use trig and measure it out and plot it out, but what we're doing here, that's plenty accurate. That's the first one. What I'd like to do here is get a line on that and cut it, which I already have done. So I sawed this and sanded it on my disc sander. Now I will just glue that in place with a little hangover right there that will rest on the tool rest like that, and it doesn't even go past. So I'm going to glue this on. When that glue sets, we are almost done. You certainly don't need any more than that. I'm just going to rub that glue in a little bit and then get it on the line. And I still hear the words from the wise old pattern maker who I apprenticed under that said, let it set and leave it alone. If you try to clamp it, it gets off your line and it's going to move. It's not going to be exact. So that's what I'll do. I'll let that sit. I actually still have, it's funny, but I still think about things that he told me while I was learning, and I'll say them out loud when I'm out here by myself. And just little tricks of the trade, and I sure appreciated learning them. So I'll be back and show you how I glue the next strip on. Alright, I am back, and it hasn't even been 10 minutes. It does not take long for glue to tack up, as long as you don't flood too much on. So now I've already cut the angle on that piece right there. I did it the same way. Here's the tool that I'll use. All it says is high-speed steel. I don't know what brand it is. I actually bought that complete set, never used, at a garage sale for $5. So I don't know what brand it is. But I think you can buy this on Amazon, and I think PSI, Penn State Industries, has something similar to that. So now, really kind of the last thing I need to do here is glue this on. And I really didn't need a board this long. I could have used a short one and put a tab on the end. And by the way, this is 1/4 inch birch plywood. So now all I will do is put that on, and with gluing really helps if you can rub your joint like this. It spreads the glue. I'm not looking for the glue to ooze out of this. It's not going to be a turning. But it will not come apart. I can just about guarantee you that. What I need to do here is just make sure that that slides. Alright, that is it. Okay, this is set for quite a while actually, but there is one more thing that I need to do. If you look at this surface and this surface here, they're not parallel with each other. And in order for a clamp to get a nice bite, they should be parallel or really close. Otherwise, as you clamp, it'll just try to slide off. Well, the good thing is I've saved this strip of wood that came off of there, and anytime you make a cut and you move it over to the other side, it becomes a parallelogram, and that is parallel, so this clamp's going to work quite well. Let me get this glued together, and I'll let it set all night, and tomorrow I'll make one cut on this disc that I have in the lathe. That's all we're going to do. Okay, here is the fixture for making 50-degree cuts. Because I'm making more than one cut, I'll show you how I set it up to repeat those cuts easily. I've got the banjo set up. It's 90 degrees to the table and parallel to my work. The tool rest also needs to be parallel to your work, so I used a little strip of wood to place it there, and that also spaces it away so it's not rubbing. To be able to slide the banjo, I've got a board with a nice straight edge on it. I'll clamp this in place. I want to make sure that does not move. Now, I'll take my cutting fixture and make sure that it covers everything that I'm trying to cut, and then we'll just clamp it. It's a good location for it. It'll cover everything. I'll clamp that in place and we are ready to make our first cut. I'll get this all set up in position and I'll make one cut on there so you can see how it actually works. I'm going to go ahead and cut this starting at about 500 RPM. We'll see how it cuts and maybe make some adjustments. Okay, that's the process. Well, here it is. Nothing to it. Very easy to build, and it works great. There's probably other ways to cut these rings, but this is how I do it. That's how I like to do it. I think it just makes it a lot easier. If you liked what you saw here, give it a thumbs up. And if you really liked it, you could share it around. That'd be fantastic. Also, leave me a comment. I love reading all your comments, and I do my best to answer all of them. At the end of the video, I'm going to leave some pictures of other bowls where I've used this method, and I have a number of them, so I'll put those pictures there. And I'm also going to leave a link to the Chaos bowl that I just did. If you haven't seen that, I'd like you to watch it, because that bowl, it looks complicated, but it's really easy to make. Well, that's about it. So until the next time, I'll see you later.